Black women are having babies to collect welfare. Let's get into it. Make sure you comment, like, or dislike, and I'll see you at the end.
You have a lot of guys that were caught selling drugs that weren't selling drugs. Okay. You have a lot of guys that had issues where they got pulled over and, oh, surprise, there's drugs in the car. Where did that come from? Okay. So that's one thing. There's nuance like that. Doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. All right. Then on top of that, when you're talking about it's not the black women's fault, black women are willing participants in a system that they actually know for a fact is disproportionately prejudiced to their group of men. Okay. They know this. This is not a game. They go to these offices knowing that they can actually take advantage of this system by, oh, I'm in a relationship with a black man who ain't hitting on nothing and don't want to work and blah, 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 all of those different things. So we can't ignore that. We can't ignore that. Now, to sit here and say, oh, it's all black women's fault. I never said it was all black women's fault, but there is a large percentage of black women who have been incentivized to have children out of wedlock. They've been incentivized to utilize a system that they know benefits them. And they do this on a regular basis.
Okay, just as a quick,
on a regular basis.
Do you really believe that there's like people out there that are like, I want to have a kid so I get welfare?
Yes. I don't believe it. I know it. I don't believe it. I know it.
Why do
I know my culture?
Why do black women do this, but not white women or Indian women or Asian women or other people?
Well, I don't know if white women do this or not. A lot of white women on welfare too. I can't speak for white women because I'm not part of that. I'm not part of that culture, but I know what I grew up around. I've heard the conversations amongst women. I've heard the things that they've said. One of the issues that I point out in my show, which is a real issue during the time where Gen Xers were younger and you had the boomer parents, you had this switch like you talked about earlier where the women started going into the workforce more and going to get their education more. Well, one of the things that happened is a lot of the boomer women would use their daughters to help them with the housework. So when mom goes off to work or whatever, her daughter is helping raise the siblings. And what I've had a lot of women tell me, a lot of black women tell me, and I know it's anecdotal, but I've had a lot of women tell me one of their escapes was to have sex, have a child with a guy, because then she can get Section 8 or she can get public housing. And now she can move out and get the hell away from her mama's house where her mother's forcing her to cook, clean, and do all of the housework. And they feel like slaves.
I would have to I hate to be like a nerd and be like, we should look up the stats, but like people don't. This like there might be some people that do this, but like single moms don't live glorious lives. Like it sucks. Being a single mom sucks. You can get all the fucking welfare in the world, but nobody's living like a queen on Section 8 housing.
But
right? But I'm just saying I don't think people are choosing like, oh, like I'm gonna finally move out of my mom's house by having a kid and getting welfare. I don't think people are making choices like that. I think it might happen, and then people collect welfare afterwards.
No, they actually are, because you don't. Here's the thing. Because this is what you're not getting. It's not a choice that they're making because it's the best choice in the sense that when I do this, I'm going to have an awesome life. You're already dealing with a group of people who are already at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder.
If this was true, why do black women do abortions more than any other group of people? Shouldn't they be having the most children then to take advantage of all the welfare?
Because there's numerous reasons for that too. For one, you have some women that genuinely don't really want to have kids. They like the party lifestyle. But the ones that do, they want to have those kids by a specific guy. Okay? Because some guys are going to bring more benefits than others. Okay? When it comes to child support, there are chicks out here in the black community, they'll get pregnant by a guy. If a chick gets pregnant by a guy that just enlisted in the military, she's not deleting that baby. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen because she knows that's definite child support. And look, this is not something that everybody talks about in polite society. but it's something that goes on a regular basis. I know this for a fact. I've had these experiences. Numerous men that I know have had these experiences. When I talked about this the other night on my show, there was a guy, Adam, that was telling me that, well, that's not true. I don't believe that. And then I literally had a black woman come onto my show and say, yes, her family has even told her to do that because she's in her 20s. She doesn't have any children. And at one point she needed a place to stay or whatever. And she said that the women in her family was basically scolding her. You need to go out here and find a guy that you don't really like that, get pregnant by him so that you can get all of the benefits that we get. They do this. I know it sounds crazy, but they do this. This is one of the things that the men in my culture have been constantly complaining about. And it's being treated like we're delusional.
Well, I don't know. I mean, to complain about it as a guy, just use birth control, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the smart guys out here, look, if you look at black guys out here, the smart guys, they're not out here getting a bunch of women pregnant. They're not.
Well, but how are they getting pregnant?
Because there's literally 3 guys in Tennessee right now that have a total of 86 children by 34 different women. There are guys out here that have 10 children by 5 different women. There are guys out here, like when you go look at the CDC stats, when it comes to the deadbeat dads, that actually represents a small percentage of the black male population. It's about 8%, right? So what's happening is you have a number of women that are basically having children with multiple guys, but it's a very small percentage of the male population. It's not all of us. So what's happening is you end up with these guys out here, and I can't name how many times I've heard this, and it's crazy. I didn't even know it was a reality. But I myself only have 3 children by 1 woman, right? So you have these guys out here that'll be like, yeah, my dad had 19 kids.
Why? Okay, then if women are choosing, if black women are choosing to get pregnant for the welfare and all that shit and child support, none of these women are getting child support then, if there's one guy knocking up like 30 fucking women, right? So why would they even do this? Why would they make these choices?
Because the way that system is structured, right? Even if you can't extract child support out of the guy, right? There are still numerous programs that you can get. I know a woman that had I think she has like 10 children. Habitat for Humanity gave her a house.
Yeah, but do you think that's the norm? But that's not the norm, right?
It's not the norm?
That people are getting free houses for having kids in black communities? No, I don't think so.
That's not the norm? Okay. Look.
Well, here, I'm curious. How many, if we, and I'm not trying to I need 52.8%. I don't need an exact stat, but how many women do you think in the black community that get pregnant? How many of them, roughly, what percentage of them are just looking for a welfare check? Just so I can get an idea of where you think the scale is.
I could tell you how many are pregnant out of wedlock, which I think is a little above 70-some%. But so far as their motive, that would be a little harder to pin down. Because I'm not saying that all of them. What I'm saying is that is a cultural trend. And the reason why it's a trend is because you have women that will school their daughters to do that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious because I'm sure it's happened. I'm not going to tell you it's never happened, but I'm just curious where you think do you think this is 2% of the community, which would be pretty fucked up, or do you think it's 50% of the community that's super fucked up? Yeah, I'm just curious what you think the number is. And then I'll do research on it later. I'll try to look it up, I guess.
I've literally never thought about, because where would you get a census for that? But
the issue is that I guess the issue is that you're content to blame, or it feels like it. Maybe I'm getting a bad rating, you correct me, but it feels like you're content to blame the majority of the black community's problems on black women. But then you're relying on a lot of I know a woman that told me this, I've got a friend that's done that, and it's okay, but how do you know that this is representative of the black community as a whole? Or how do you know that in different towns or cities, this is how it works everywhere? It seems like numbers or census data on that would be pretty important.
The reason why I know it is because every single time there's an issue with Section 8. Right now, recently, they just had an issue with Section 8 where a lot of the landlords in Atlanta have stopped taking Section 8. So guess what? Black women are all across social media crying about it.
Well, but what does that show? I mean, like, if you genuinely need the assistance, of course you're going to cry about it, right?
But no, it's not. It's some that genuinely need the assistance, but it's a lot that continue to live on it. These are people that live on the system the majority of their life. They're not using it in the sense that they're supposed to use it for, where, oh, I'm down bad, I have some issues, let me use this so that I can get on my feet. They're not doing that. What they're doing is they're looking and finding loopholes to continue to be on that system perpetually. That's the problem.
I mean, if you have a kid, you're going to be on the system. If you're a single mom, of course you will be, right? You're not going to try to like get out of like Section 8 housing or assistance for your child if you're a single mom and your kid turns like 3 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't see that like I don't see like single moms looking for assistance from the government as like a negative thing.